Hello and welcome to my new YouTube channel. My name is Ingo Kikas and obviously I build motorcycles. This is the third time for me already to start with YouTubing. I've been filming before, some episodes were actually ready, but I didn't publish them because I thought that I'm not ready for YouTube. Not so sure this time either, but let's see. If you see this episode, then I've decided to give it a go. I'm standing behind quite ugly XDiavel. This is kind of different project for me than normally because I'm used to building brand new or almost brand new bikes for clients, but this thing is actually mine. So I bought it from auction from USA. It had quite a long journey from California. It was almost 2 months on the sea. As you see, it's quite damaged, or well, it's intact and everything is okay, but it has like damaged parts all over. Obviously the fuel tank it has dents, the frame is scratched, exhaust is scratched. These are quite not so major problems for me because I will like take it apart anyway and like repaint everything and put it all together. So for me personally, it's not an issue. And it's also like a little bit interesting for me what I will find out underneath here, because you know, if I build like new bikes for clients, then all the time I know what's waiting on. If I remove the tank, then I know that what's waiting for me underneath there. I'm taking you on a journey with me. I'm planning to show you the whole build process from start to finish. When the bike arrived, I have only washed it and connected with the Ducati service cable. The problem at the moment is that the bike won't start, and I don't wanna start the building process when I don't know in what condition the engine is, because it will be quite like bad to find out that there are some engine problems if I like have taken everything apart and painted and put back together. Then it's a little bit too late, I think. That's why I would like to first start it, see that is it possible to ride it. Then let's take it apart. I already have the design. I will show it to you in next episode, I think. Change all the damaged parts, you know, fix everything and make it cool looking. The problem with the bike, when it arrived with this key. It was missing this metal part. It's not so important, it's keyless go. But anyway, the bike doesn't recognize the key for some reason. It asks the pin code and that's it. I wanted to like program the new key for the bike, but as it doesn't recognize the old one, then you cannot program the new one if you don't have any other keys. Normally there is also the service key, the red one, but I don't have it. That's the only one I have. It was kind of dead end, and the only thing for me to do was to buy a new system, new ignition system. So I bought this new button thing that needs to be replaced. Together with it came new fuel cap and two new keys. In this episode, I'm thinking let's take off the fuel tank and let's try to switch to a new one, and let's see if this bike starts, and then we can decide how we will continue with the build. I hope it starts and then it's all good, and let's take it all apart then. So let's take the seat off. Really low. Seems a little bit dusty and old, but seems okay. Okay, let's try to get this thing off now.
old one and the new one. Seems to be same. So I changed this thingy now, and I have a new key. So let's see what happens. Nice, 12,000 miles. Well, okay, I can live with that. I will put a fuel tank, this damaged tank. I have a new tank also without the dents, but let's put this old one back and let's see if this thing starts. So now we have a new key here, new ignition thing installed, and also I changed the fuel in this old tank. Now let's see. Only one thing, I will change the oil also, but let's see if it promises. Oh. Okay, something might happen. I will now take the old oil out and put the new in. I have no idea how long this thing has been in there, so just to be sure, I will quickly change it. It's quite dusty and sandy and muddy down here. But actually this oil plug seems like brand new. Somebody has tightened it with full force. But oil is beautiful. So this oil plug is really clean and no metal pieces here, so only really small ones. This thing is magnet, so it collects all the metal pieces from the engine. And the oil itself was really clean also. But you never know. I wanted to be sure that if I try to start the engine here, then I won't do it like with 5-year-old oil. Anyways, I will clean it up nicely, put this plug back on and fill the engine again with oil. So as you understand, this was the easiest way of oil changing. Like this is not the actual oil change at all. I didn't change the filter, but I did it because, you know, I don't know what kind of oil there was. At least I will put now the correct oil in, and it's new. So if I start the engine and run it for like 10 or 15 minutes here, then everything should be quite okay. After the build is done, I will change the filters and, you know, this lower filter also there and new oil and so on. But this is at the moment just to check that we will not ruin the engine, if it's not ruined already. So now we have new oil in. Let's see. Now I can be sure that I can start it. Well, hello! Almost. So now we know that the engine is kind of running, turning at least. So I will now plug it into the Ducati computer. Let's see what it shows. In the next episode I will show you some parts that I have bought and introduce you the plans that I have for this build. And hopefully I can start to disassemble the bike. But first I have to get it completely running. But okay, thank you for watching and see you next time.
Hello, I'm back again. Actually, it has been many months since filming the first episode. It was in the beginning of summer, I think, when I filmed the episode about the condition of the bike. At the moment it's October already, but it is what it is. I just have done many client works and I haven't had time to work on my own bike. Finally the time has arrived and I can continue with the project. So what do we know so far? I know that the engine is running, the electronics seem to be okay. The only problems with the bike are optical, some damaged parts, scratched parts, suspension is leaking and so on. The levers are broken, for example, but these are all minor problems for me because I will take the bike anyway totally apart, lay it on the floor, choose the parts that need to be replaced, repainted. Everything will be like brand new at the end. And if everything is ready, then I will throw the bike back together. I will anyway have new wheels, new suspension, new brakes, new exhaust system, new paint, new tuning parts all over the place, new seat. The current situation where electronically and mechanically everything seems to be okay, but optically is ugly. It seems kind of perfect for me. But I think let's not waste no more time, and I will start to disassemble the bike. My plan for today is to take everything totally apart, and then I can see what is actually waiting ahead. And in the next episode I will probably introduce you the design and the tuning parts, but at the moment let's start taking this thing apart.
So let's start with the fuel tank. Disconnect all the hoses and wires. Tank itself comes off pretty easily. Now let's move on to the rear parts. Take off the rear plastics. Let's remove all the clip nuts and screws. Let's get them bagged so that I can find the right ones later when I'm assembling the bike. Now I will loosen the rear underseat parts. Take off the lights and the electronics there. Also, let's remove the rear wheel. It opens up much space and it's easier to access other parts. So taking off the rear mudguard and the rear plate holder. Now let's loosen the rear suspension pressure tank to get access to some exhaust bolts. And on the left side I need to remove the lower panel to access front header nuts. There's quite much dirt in the lower panel section, it needs to be cleaned. Some nasty oil and sand mix is there. And if the panels are off, then there is not much space to work on the header tube nuts, so it's quite tight fit. But once the header is loosened, then the exhaust comes off pretty easily.
So it's quite a big fight with the exhaust all the time, but finally removed it. Exhaust, rear wheel, tank and rear end is off now. Parts are here. As you can see, the fuel tank has quite a big dent on the left side. The lower panels are really nasty and lots of cleaning needs to be done. This super cool exhaust is here. Situation is like this at the moment. As you can see, quite dirty, but yeah, everything will be like new again. Okay, I will continue.
So let's clean some tools and start working on the front end. First thing is to remove front mudguard, and then let's bleed the brake system. If the fluid is out, then we can remove the calipers, and if the calipers are removed, then we can take off the front wheel. Let's lift up the bike a little bit and let's loosen the triple clamp bolts to slide out the suspension tubes. You have to be super careful there because it's easy to scratch the tubes. As the suspension tubes are anodized, then it's quite complicated to get them fixed when you scratch them, so better to be super careful. If the suspension tubes are out, then I'm removing the risers and the instrument cluster. Triple clamps can be removed now, and entire front end is gone.
So now the fork and handlebar is removed. As you can see, really dirty here. So here is the leaking fork.
handlebar, electronical stuff. Well, as you can see, this thing is broken. I have a new one. I have a new line for the clutch. But yep, I will clean it up a little bit and continue now. I'm trying to take the frame off now.
For starters, I'll loosen some of the bolts that hold together the rear suspension system. I will take off the cap from the airbox also to see how's the filter inside. I lift the bike a little bit more to get better access, and just to be sure that all is stable, I will secure the bike with a strap. Now I can take out the rear suspension, and after that I can continue to take apart the rear section of the frame.
So again, tools all over the place, rear frame, suspension parts, engine covers, some parts added here too. And now I have to take this airbox out.
Airbox is quite a tricky part. We have very limited access from all angles, lots of clamps, hoses. It's really tight fit. And once the airbox is out, then the main frame removal is not so hard anymore. You just have to make sure that you don't damage any of the wiring or lines when ripping the frame out.
I won the boxing match between me and the frame. I was looking through some videos that I have shot, and well, looking at my colors, then it looks like the frame and Indiana Jones had a big fight. Anyway, Indiana Jones won. Frame is off, lots of wires, lots of hoses, parts are laying around, tools are laying around, screws are laying around. I have to remove the swing arm also, but for that I need to make the engine stable somehow. At the moment the swing arm with the rear stand is holding the bike straight. Actually, little change of plans. It's almost 10 o'clock, so quite long day today. I thought I will finish. So I cleaned up all the tools and stuff, but the swing arm is still attached. I need a special tool to loosen the belt, and I think I will continue with it tomorrow. Progress looks like this. Not bad, but always room for improvements. I think that's enough for today. Thanks for watching and see you next time. Hello and welcome back. As you can see, there has been a little bit progress since the filming of last episode. The swing arm is removed, also the radiator has been removed, and the engine is standing on its feet. I made feet for the engine. Today's plan is to make an engine service. I have received the parts that are needed to do the service, but before that, as you can see, we have lots and lots of parts laying around. My plan is to organize them, and I will show you a little bit closer in what condition they are and what are the plans for these parts. And after we have organized these parts, we will move back to the engine and let's do the engine service then. Okay, let's actually start from the big parts. Frame. Frame is in good condition. Only some minor damage, you know, a little bit scratched here, little bit scratched here, but anyway, it's in good condition, just a little bit old. I will paint it satin black, and together with the frame are the you know these rear supporting parts, rear frame parts, I don't know how to call them. They are actually in good condition. No damages, but they are dark gray. I need them to be satin black. Are going to be repainted just because the color is not right. Swing arm has a little bit damage here. It's scratched, but actually it's nothing too much. So scratched here, here, and here. Otherwise, everything seems to be okay. This thing also will be repainted. I think I'm going to use some kind of textured satin black for this. Okay, let's take these engine covers. They will be painted two-tone, so that here is one, like the main color of the bike. Sides are satin black, but the condition of the parts is really good. They're just dirty. This thing will be stock, but I will repaint it, and it has a little bit scratches here, but it's nothing major anyway. The belt is like, the scratches are, you know, they are not touching the belt, so I'm getting this fixed here, this front side, and it will be repainted. Rear suspension parts all in perfect condition, just dirty and wrong color. Front suspension clamps, or how to call them, all perfect condition here, again just the wrong color. This part actually has a few scratches here, but nothing major. I will sand it, and they're going to be set in black also. So handlebar parts all in good condition, no problems here, just dirty. So these, I will leave them here on the side. Fork is a little bit damaged, you know, well, not damaged, it's just leaking oil. Otherwise they look okay, but we are going to fix the oil leak, take them apart, put the new seals, but also we're going to lower the fork. So I don't know what they exactly do there, but if they take it apart, there's some kind of shaft or something that needs to be shortened. Then if you put it back together, then we're going to probably, well, we're going to lower it like the halfway here. Heat guards, I think I will leave them like this, just clean them really nicely. I thought about painting them satin black, but I think they work better if they will be just pure metal. They were like really ugly before. That was not rust on it, but some kind of black thing and dirt and stuff. I thought that I need to paint them or sand it or somehow, but we have a solution to clean them. So now they are looking super clean, like brand new, and they fit nicely with the new exhaust. So maybe I will sand it. So there are some kind of manufacturing marks or something like this, but let's see. Anyway, basically they will be like this. Handlebar, all okay with that, but it's wrong color. It's not satin black. It's strange that I say satin black so much. I always prefer like bright colors, but I'm currently building my own bike, and main thing is satin black. Kind of strange. Rear axle, everything seems to be okay here too. The only thing that I'm going to do is change this rear disc. Actually, nothing wrong with this too, but just as it's quite hard to change this part later, and the bike is currently like totally opened up, then let's change this thing too, and it will be brand new later. So plastic parts, the thing with the plastic parts, they are not brand new anymore, and it's kind of hard to paint. Well, it's not hard to paint them, but the point is that if you paint it, then it's not going to look like plastic anymore. It's painted plastic. In this case, it seems that I have no other option than to paint this part also. Well, let's see. I will start cleaning it properly, and after I've done everything that I can, then let's see how it looks, and then I can decide if I need to paint it or not.
So now I gather all the smaller plastic parts. They're all a little bit faded, so I will decide what to do with them during the build process. Also, I'm dismantling the rear suspension rod and suspension rocker from the shock absorber. So now the stuff is a little bit more organized. We have some body panels here that are going to be painted. Airbox just cleaned. Plastic parts, currently we don't know what I'm going to do with them. Just clean or paint them, but this will be clear after the proper cleaning. All these silver parts, they are in good condition, no problems, but I'm going to do them satin black. Frame,
going satin black, rear swing arm, rear frame, some kind of textured satin black I think. Engine covers there are going to be two-tone. Front suspension needs to be serviced and lowered. We are not going to use these, obviously super ugly tires, and we're not going to use these old wheels. And also I'm going to have new brake discs. Here is the new tank. Fuel tank will be painted obviously. As I mentioned earlier, this thing needs to be polished. Let's see how it turns out. Other things just clean. So now it's time to service the engine. I have the new camshaft belts. I have some gaskets that we need. Well, I will get help from Ducati service guy. I'm not a professional at engines, so I will need some help. We were going to change these camshaft belts. It's about right time to do it also. The service interval is 5 years. Another big thing, we're going to remove these covers, and under these covers we can check the valve clearance. Actually, it doesn't have to be done like for another 10,000 kilometers yet, but we will do it before the actual time to do it. Well, the point is that the engine is like easily serviceable at the moment, so let's do these things that we can do. So we will check the valve clearance. If everything needs to be adjusted, then we will do it. So after everything is done, we will have new belts, valves are checked, new filters, new oil. I will clean the secondary oil filter also. We will clean the engine. I have a new coolant, everything will be fresh. Engine should be running really smooth. And also we're going to change the spark plugs. I forgot these. Anyways, let's start with the engine. So finally time to remove cylinder head covers, and we can check if the camshaft and valve clearance is within the correct tolerances. Luckily all is perfect and there are no additional adjustment needed. All good. Now it's time to move on to timing belts. We are removing the belt tensioners, and this allows to take off the belt. Same procedure for the both belts. After a little quick clean, it's time to put the new belts on. And after installing the new belts, it's important to make sure that the tension is correct. We use special measuring tool, and our goal is to see 110 Hz on the screen. As there is a small plus-minus error allowed, then all good. And tighten the tensioners with correct torque. We are all done. So now we have new belts and they're tightened correctly. When we check the valve clearance, everything is okay within the right tolerances. I also changed the spark plugs. The old ones are here. The two other ones were changed already before, but we actually found a little interesting problem. This is the map sensor hose. I think it shouldn't be in this condition, and the sensor is not getting the right readings, so that's why probably while the engine was running it had a little bit problems. So I ordered a new hose. It's like 10 euros or something. I have to change it and probably everything is okay. And now I have to clean these covers, take off this old gasket, this seal or how it's called. I have to clean everything and put back together then. So for taking off this old gasket here, I'm going to use little helpers and this tool. Let's see how it goes. Well, I have to do it to the other part too, and then I can clean it up and continue with the assembly. So after all sealant is removed and covers nicely clean, it's time to put them on. With silicone remover, I'm going to clean all the mounting surfaces on the cylinder head. Same procedure with the cover itself. Now applying new sealant, new rubber gaskets. Make sure that everything is correct. And that's it. On goes the cover. You have to make sure that the bolts and nuts, everything are tightened correctly with the correct torque. And it's the same procedure for the both cylinders. Make sure all is okay and we're done. So the valve covers are back on and the main works with the engine are done. I will leave the engine like this at the moment. I decided that I will clean it right before we are going to install back the frame. So I will leave the engine like this and continue with the painting stuff. But I think it's enough for today. Thank you all for watching. Please hit like, subscribe, comment underneath, let me know what you think. And again, thank you for watching and see you next time. Well, hello and welcome back. It's me again. As promised, let's start with the painting stuff now. Let's do some prep works and let's go to the paint booth. But first off, I would like to show you some of the parts that are already painted. As you remember, in the last episode, we sent some parts to cleaning and powder coating, and now they are here. So I will show you them a little bit closer. So here we have swing arm. As I said, structured satin black, looking like this. All these areas that needed to be covered were covered. I removed the tapes and some screws. These parts were just not structured but satin black. Some of the rust marks were there. Now they look like new again. These parts actually were perfectly fine, but I just wanted to be them in the same finish as the swing arm. Structured black, so now they're looking like this. So everything perfect with these. I just have to remove, some of these screws and stuff, but otherwise it's okay. Now let's move to these parts here. I've gathered some of the parts on the ground. These are the parts that need to be painted to the main color of the bike. Here we have parts that don't need priming. I just need to sand them and paint them. So these are all in perfect condition basically. This was from some previous bike, perfect condition. This is from this bike, but nothing wrong with that. That's the new fuel tank, already primed. Need to sand it. These things need to be cleaned and sanded. This is brand new part because I didn't have it from my bike. I bought it. And these things have to be primed. This is brand new because it was broken before. Here we have some scratches. Here we have little scratch also. And some little marks here also. So these 4 parts need to be primed. And after priming, I can sand all them together and paint them to the main color of the bike. And in the other room, this is the prep room. So all these are going to be painted satin black. Obviously all these silver parts. I already cleaned them, so this is done, but now I have to sand them and cover all these, not these parts, like this part, for example, inside here, this tube and so on. The frame is going to be satin black also. It has some, marks here. Otherwise it's in good condition. There's just some scratches. Anyway, this is going to be satin black also. These plastic parts, this is in good condition, but as you can see, here has been the sticker and it's visible now because of the sun. I'm going to paint it satin black. And this part actually is also in good condition, but this plastic is just looking a little bit, how to say, tired maybe, old. So I'm going to paint it satin black, and because this part is together with this, so I will paint this frame also satin black. I already have the new net for it, so I will remove the net and paint the plastic area. Let's start with the prep work. I will set up the camera and start sanding all these parts. So I'm going to sand all these parts. The point of this is to scratch the surface so that the new paint can stick onto the surface and grab from it basically. I'm using kind of industrial type of satin black paint from PPG. Throughout the years, this is the best solution that I've found for this type of parts. This paint will grab quite strongly from the surface and it has really good resistance to all kinds of environmental things like heat and UV light and so on. So that's really strong paint and really easy to apply also. But for this, I have to sand all these parts and let's go. Oh, and after sanding, I have to cover all those surfaces that need to be covered. Basically, for example, this part is the part that holds the hand. Compressor started working. Nice. Let's wait for it. If the sanding is done, then I have to cover these areas that need to be covered, as this part that holds the handlebar. So this area here needs to be clean and not painted. After all the sanding is done, then I'm going to mask all these areas. I will continue with the cool sanding process now. It's important to make sure that all the areas, even these that are hard to reach, need to be sanded in order to get better adhesion for the new paint. So with this part, I would like to point out here was a small kind of edge because of the mold, and I sanded the edge off here. Now it's like smooth. You see like this thing here. So I sanded it off. Another thing with this part, we also changed already these bushings because the rubber was kind of strange. This thing holds up the handlebar, so it was like really wobbly. Now we have new bushings, and well, yeah, let's continue. So most of the parts are sanded. Now before moving to the frame, I thought I will quickly work on these because I need to prime them and prep them for priming. I tried to sand off these problems, so then I can see that if I need to put some putty also, or just sanding is enough. Orbital sander, it's attached to the vacuum cleaner basically behind the wall here. So as soon as I hit go, so as soon as I start it, then the cleaner goes to work also. So let's see. So now we don't have these scratches here anymore, and I will sand all the other parts, places here, and then I can prime it. Done. So the main problems are gone. Now I have to just sand other parts and again ready for priming. So here is a little scratch, and seems that here we have a little dent. So I will make a putty and let's fill them. So while this thing cures now, then I can continue with the frame. Frame is quite uncomfortable part to prep because it's trellis frame and needs extra attention to reach all the places. Also, I need to make sure that the frame number doesn't get any damage and will be clearly visible afterwards. So the frame is sanded now. Here were some scratches before, now we don't have them anymore. Well, basically this is almost ready for painting now. Just need to cover some areas and we can go to the paint booth. Now I'm going to prime these things and sand this thing and prime them all. So these things have cured now after priming. Now I have to sand them. For this, first step I use 600 grit dry paper, and after that 800 and 1000 grit wet paper. After wet sanding, the surfaces should be super smooth and perfect. And yeah, let's go. Here we had scratches before. As you can see, no marks of any scratches anymore. And after, like, this is just a rough sanding, and after wet sanding, all these areas will be perfect.
So these things are now dry sanded and I will move to the wet sanding stage. But before that, I'm going to clean the engine covers so that I can sand all these things together. I use just the simple brush and the silicone remover to clean all these type of parts. It dissolves all the oils and dirt from the surfaces. So these are clean now. I also cleaned the other parts that anyway needed to be cleaned at some point. I don't have to do anything with these, they just go back on the bike. Now I'm going to sand these engine covers.
So the wet sanding, it's kinda nasty process, old school process, but I still use it because I don't know, it works for me. I can be sure that all the surfaces will be perfect then for painting. Well, yeah, let's go. The point of it is that water keeps the sandpaper clean, and also it's better to see what's going on while sanding.
As this is the last stage of sanding, then I need to make sure that all the surfaces are perfect and nicely prepped for the painting process. Some of the parts, like the engine covers, have many edges and hollow places that are hard to reach, but I just need more time and extra attention to make everything perfect.
So I have all these silver parts here now. I have to mask them for painting, so let's start.
Masking can be quite time-consuming process because the areas that need to be masked can be sometimes hard to reach. And it's important to make sure that all the edges have a clean cut, otherwise the end result will look unprofessional.
As you can see, all the parts are masked now. Let's go and paint them.
Finally, in the paint booth, and the first batch of parts are set up for the painting. This is the satin black batch of the parts. Before starting with the actual painting process, I clean all the parts again with the silicone remover. Now I use air and a special cloth to clean the parts from any dust particles that can be left there on the surfaces. So the black parts are now painted, they need to cure now, and after the curing process I can switch the parts in the paint booth. And say hello to the new main color of the bike.
So, done. I applied 2.5 coats of paint and 2 coats of clear coat here. I will leave them like this to cure at the moment. Obviously these things will not stay like this. I will continue with them. Then you will see in the future how's the design going to look like. I hope you liked it. I tried to show you what the painting looks like. Probably from the video it seems kind of easy. But believe me, to get this clear coat on these motorcycle parts, it's quite the hustle. I will leave them here at the moment, and in the next episode, let's see how they all turned out and let's see what the future brings. Thank you all for watching and see you next time. Well, hello and welcome back, it's me again. So since filming the last episode, some things have moved on. I have installed the clutch and the radiator. Also, I have received the front suspension and some more parts. Today's plan is to assemble the rear frame part here, rear end of the bike. But before doing that, let's quickly check how this clutch thing went.
So I remove all the clutch case bolts. And as there is silicone sealant, then it's quite hard to get the case free from the engine. If the cover is off, then I can clean the surfaces from the old sealant. And I use a little Dremel tool for it. It's important to clean all the mounting surface from all the oils. So I open up the original pressure plate parts. Again, little cleaning to make sure that everything is dust free and perfect. I installed a new black pressure plate and pressure plate ring and apply new sealant on the engine side. Well, some people apply it on the cover side, but I prefer to put it on the engine side. Doesn't matter actually. And on goes the new clutch case together with its transparent window. All the bolts must be tightened with the correct torque to prevent damaging the thread. And on the radiator side, it's important to fasten all the hoses and wires correctly behind the radiator because it's really tight fit there.
So the clutch is ready now. This is a CNC Racing clear clutch case and it comes with these silver cut areas from the factory, but I didn't like these silver cuts, so I made this fully black, so it's now murdered black. It's fully re-anodized, so all the silver areas are now black. Inside we have black pressure plate from CNC Racing also, and this orange pressure plate ring is from AEM. As I mentioned earlier, this is really special part to me because when I got it, I was probably the first guy to have it in the world. I asked them if they have something for the clutch. They had already designed it, but they were not selling it, so they agreed to make me like a kind of special edition part. So we have AEM and my logo on it, and yeah, it's really cool part and cool story about it. Cool story, bro. It is exactly how I planned it to look like. And another thing that catches my eye all the time is this Öhlins new pressure tube. It's nothing special, but kinda is too. Just the black part and the black suspension. But if you know, you know, and if you don't, you don't. I mean that it's like an aftermarket part, and that's why I like it. It doesn't like scream, oh look at me. So yeah, if you know, you know, and I know, and that's enough. But anyway, let's move on to the other parts. Here we have fully serviced front suspension. This means that all the oil seals and gaskets, everything are changed. Also we have new oil in it, and they are also lowered. Previously when I sent them to service, I wanted this silver area to be halfway, so basically it would have meant lowering the front suspension 9 centimeters. We did not lower it quite that much because You know, this end here, 3 or 4 centimeters, is just a dead zone where nothing happens. So currently we have about this much travel, and if we would have lowered it more, then the riding would have been a little bit too crazy, I think. So instead of 9 centimeters, we lowered it about 6 centimeters. I hope it looks okay, but let's keep in mind that one thing is the design and everything. The other thing, in the case of this bike at least, is that I want it to be nicely rideable also. Here we have a box full of brand new parts from Ducati. Let's open the box and let's see what's inside. So, lots of plastic parts on the ground, all brand new parts. As you remember, for some reason I was not able to decide what to do with the old plastic parts of the bike, because for these kind of parts I always prefer them to be pure plastic, as they are from factory, or carbon fiber then maybe, but I don't prefer to paint them. I could do it, but for some reason I don't like these parts to be painted. And you know, the old parts were just looking, they were all okay, but they were just looking kind of tired and ugly. And when I saw that these parts are actually not that expensive, all these parts on the ground here are roughly 200 euros, $200 then. So it seemed to me reasonable to just buy new parts. It saved me a lot of time also, and I don't have to like prep and paint and, you know, all these kind of things. I just take the new part and put it on a bike. So yeah, this thing is finally decided, and I'm really again satisfied that I chose this path. This is English, but I try my best. Now you have seen the clutch and the suspension and these plastic parts, and now finally let's start assembling the rear end of the bike. So today's first step is to put the engine covers back on, but before that I have to get this thing back here. Let's add the first brand new plastic part also. This thing is quite tricky to get here because it's really tight around the frame here. To make sure that you don't damage anything here, I covered it with tape. So well, yeah, it's really tight. You have to like put it here on an angle, you know, somehow. So this one there is quite hard to reach, but anyways, going okay. So let's add the new part. So the belt covers are on and the new plastic parts added. Everything looks really sharp. Great. So let's move on to the rear end. I'll start with installing the exhaust heat shield, and then let's move on to the frame part. I will use these to minimize the risk of scratching something. I took it off again because I did little miscalculation. I have to mount these together and then we can slide in the rear end. As there are many wires and electronics in the rear end, then the order of assembly is quite important to get all correct. Also, as the rear end is pretty low and swing arm and suspension is really close to the rear frame, then there is not much room to work on the bolts that need to be fastened from underneath. So this side is roughly assembled and this plastic plate is on its place. Now I have to put this metal heat shield here and I can put other side also. So the rear end is almost complete now. The frame parts are attached. Wires and everything should be in the right place. I polished the rear lights also and attached them, but currently I cannot continue the work on the rear end because I haven't finished these rear plastics. That's why this rear end stays like this, and I will continue with the front end now. So let's start with this thing. I have to put the bearings back on the shaft and grease it and then put it inside and tighten the nut correctly. Anyway, yeah, that's exactly what I need to do. Put the bearings back on, grease it, put the shaft in and tighten the nut, and then let's continue with the front. Super. So the shaft operation is done, but I wanted to show you, maybe some of you are wondering how I know where all the bolts and nuts go. If I disassemble the bike, then I bag the bolts according to which part are they taken from and so on. Now if I'm like working on the front parts, then I gathered all these bags where are the correct bolts, and it's easier for me to know what and where. So now I'm going to continue with this part. So these are installed now, but it's getting late. I'll finish for today and let's continue tomorrow. So, new day, new power. Let's continue with the front end. I will put together all these instrument cluster parts and let's mount it on top of the triple clamp. Also, let's put back the ignition button. So now I'm going to put back the ignition button. For this I have brand new special bolts. Basically, if I tighten these bolts onto the frame, then I have to break the upper part. If you break it, then it's okay. So basically it has to look like this at the end. So now I tighten it, and if it breaks, then we're done. So let's put back on the instrument cluster. So time to mount the handlebar, freshly painted. Has to go like this. Here are little dots on the handlebar that help to align it correctly. So the handlebar is finally on, and now it's time to slide these shafts into these holes. To be honest, then I don't like to assemble the front fork at all because the suspension tubes are so easy to scratch. I use the red plastic parts to spread the holes wider to have more clearance for the mounting. Also, it's important to have both tubes in exactly the same height. And again, the final tightening is done with the torque wrench. Front suspension is quite important thing on the bike, so better to have everything fastened correctly. So the shocks are back installed, all the bolts are tightened correctly, and now it's time to lower the bike onto the stand. Let's see how it turns out. And it stands on the stands. Nice. Well, it took a little longer than I expected. Glad to see some visible progress finally. Bike stands on the stands now, so the suspension is back on. Obviously lots of work waiting ahead with the wiring at the front end. Also I need to polish the front headlight because there were like a few scratches on the headlight, but I will get rid of them. And another big thing that is waiting ahead is painting the design on the green body panels, but you will see it soon. There are not many parts left. Well, actually there are, but at least not as many as they were before. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So yeah, everything comes together nicely, a little bit slower than I expected because I'm doing all the client works also. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Hit subscribe, then you will get notified if the new video comes out. Comment underneath, hit like if you like the topic. Check our Instagram page, there are some updates a little bit sooner probably than YouTube. And thank you all for watching and see you next time. Well, hello and welcome back, it's me again. So it's been a while since I've been able to work on this bike. That's due to the fact that the springtime is closing in and the client works are pouring in. So I already have 2 XDiavels here and the third one is coming next week. Schedule is getting quite tight. I need to get this bike off from the wooden stand. I need to put the client works on here because you know these client projects are also very big projects where I have to, for example, paint the frame and stuff, so they're really big projects and I will show you them in the future episodes, so stay tuned. This leads to a problem that I have to get this bike off from the stand now. For that I have to install the wheels, I will install the brakes and the exhaust also. And I'm thinking that I will start working on the handlebar. I'm 99% sure that I will have problem with my new Brembo master cylinders. The problem comes from the lever clearance with the buttons. And I think I need to make custom levers for these master cylinders, but let's find it out later in the episode. The first thing I want to show you are the wheels. So I have prepped these badass wheels. This is my own design, fully forged aluminum wheels, custom made. Some of you guys probably have seen the same design already installed on the XDiavel V4. This design was actually like made thinking mainly on the XDiavel V4, but as technically they work also here, so I'm able to put them on this bike also. As you can see, satin black again. I'm still surprised that I'm talking about satin black so much when I'm talking about my own bike. I will paint it satin black. I need them to be satin black. Satin black for this. Satin black. It's not satin black. You know, for example, all my cars have silver wheels. I always prepare the light colored wheels, but again, satin black, kind of strange.
but I think later if the bike is ready and you can see the overall design, then we all can agree that the black is the right choice here. I will not stop too long on this wheel topic, because I will talk about my wheels later in some episode where I introduce you like the full build of the bike where these wheels are used. Here, let's talk about tire lettering. I've made a time lapse of the installment of the tire lettering. So it looks probably easier at first glance, but actually it's really big job. First you have to install the tires on the wheels, because later it's quite easy to damage the lettering if you're like gluing them first on the tire and then trying to install the tire on the wheels. You might damage the lettering. So therefore I put the tires firstly on the wheel, then I sand off all these original tire lettering from the sidewall. I need to make the sidewall fully smooth, so the lettering also comes smooth on the edge. Then I have to organize all the letters. Believe me, it's quite easy to mess up the letters, because you have to be precise to get the height correctly and the letter gaps correct, because all these are glued one by one on the tire. It's quite tricky job, and as we are using like special glue, but it's really similar to super glues. So if you mess up with the glue, then it looks really unprofessional and ugly. So you have to be really careful. It takes lots of time, maybe 4 or 5 hours to get these everything from start to finish. So it's a big job. I've seen some guys trying to install them if they don't have knowledge how to do it, and it turns out really ugly. Like the heights are not correct, the gaps are not correct, and so on. The glue everywhere, so they look really unprofessional. I've been doing this for a while now, for 3 or 4 years. Well, I can mess up also, but mostly not. Anyway, so I will get these installed on the bike, but first let's install the brakes and the exhaust system, and then we can see how this kit looks on this bike. Let's go. So let's assemble the front calipers first. As you can see, they're nicely painted. I've cleaned all the surfaces that need to be cleaned. Put this thing together. I have new pads, brand new pads. I have cleaned these parts, looking like new again. Need to get this thing here. The first one is done, nicely painted, and brand new pads. Second one. Done. That was easy fix. Let's continue with the rear brake. So the rear one is just cleaned. As it's not the most beautiful part, I will not make it orange, so I leave it as unnoticeable as possible. So I will just install the pads and we are ready to go. And done. So let's put them on the bike now. And now let's get these hoses and wires organized so that they run in correct place, and let's install the rear caliper. So lines are correct now, and let's move on. I will start with the exhaust. So now I start with the exhaust, new gasket. It's really tight fit there. And somewhere there, well, somewhere there. So I have to get these nuts on there.
So let's try to fit this bad boy. So the header nuts are okay now, and the exhaust is fully on the bike. Now I'm moving on to these, and I'm installing them on the swing arm. So everything is nicely taking shape. Plastic parts for the swing arm are installed, rear mudguard also. Rear brake things should be correct. I will leave this wire for the rear indicators as it is at the moment. I have to install the number plate holder on the side here. I will install now the wheel. Let's see how it looks. Nice. I like it. So let's move on to the front wheel now. So the first step here is that I will install brake discs on the front wheel. Let's go. Let's grease the shaft. So it seems okay. So let's try to mount the calipers. So I will grease the bolts. Well, focus, man. Come on. Yep. Clean. So I'll fasten these also, although it's a little bit too early, but then it's done. Normally I do all these kinds of bolt fastenings a little bit later in the really end of the build, but okay. The front axle is still not fastened. The wheels are on. So the front calipers are fastened. The brake lines are also as they have to be. So now I think it's time to lower the front end. It's happy to see that it's looking more and more like an XDiavel should look like. I really love the wheels. They look pretty race. I believe the race is a correct word for the design here at the moment. And I have to finish for today. Let's continue tomorrow with the handlebar. Actually, today is the International Women's Day, so I believe it's not the best day to choose if I want to spend a late night here with the bike. So I'll go now and let's continue tomorrow. New day, new power again. Let's continue. Let's move on with the handlebar. I will start adding the parts here, and then at the end we will see if I have any problems with new levers or not. So I will start with the buttons. These are new buttons, brand new buttons. They're from some old build where we didn't need them. Let's slide them in. So the buttons are on. Let's put on the throttle. So I already installed the Rizoma grip, so let's put it on. Okay, little problem. The paint is a little bit thick. I need to sand it a little bit off because the grip is not working correctly. So it's like cruise control. but constantly on. I'm sanding the shaft. So now it should be okay. Yep, nice. Now let's put the left side grip also. So the grips and buttons are installed. Now let's move on to the master cylinders. Let's assemble them. So the reservoirs are from AEM with the orange rings, titanium reservoirs. I will get them assembled onto these. So I fitted the reservoirs. To be honest, and I don't believe in them too much because there are some places that are questionable. That's due to the fact that I'm super cautious about the brake fluid. But anyway, let's try to mount it. I already saw we will have problem with the lever. It's hitting the buttons, but I don't know if maybe the travel is enough already. Okay, I will put the brake one also, and then we will see. So again, this hits the throttle body. Well, I don't know. I believe if I made like a custom levers here so that they come a little bit more straight here, then they would work better. So I have a plan. I will try to do so that basically the shape of this lever will be the same, but this area here needs to be like 1 or 2 centimeters longer. So this angled area starts from here. Then I will have enough clearance so that it passes this throttle body. So let's go to the computer. So now I'm behind my 3D computer that I use if I need to make some kind of custom parts. Here I also have my little 3D printer. So basically if I make a part here, then I can print it out and test it on the bike. I need to upgrade the printer to a bigger one because this board is a little bit too small. Anyway, our goal is to make this lever a little bit longer so we can clear the buttons and stuff on the bike. I have already inserted the picture of the lever and scaled it so it's 1:1 with our dimensions in the program. I have to say I'm not like the biggest professional probably in the 3D. I studied it in the university. It was long time ago and I haven't used it certainly on a daily basis. So yeah, I'm not the biggest professional here, but I think I can handle this part. So let's go. So this is what I came up with. Actually, I have no idea if it clears now the buttons or not, but let's feed it into the printer and let's find out. So here is the new lever, new 3D model of the lever that I created. Now I fed it into the printer. The printer is warming up. It has reached 60 degrees for the bed and 220 degrees for the nozzle, and it should start printing now. Yes, and it is. It shows 3 hours of printing time, and then I can see if my new design works or not. Anyway, I will leave it printing here and let's go back to the other room where the bike is. So as you can see, I have cleaned up a little bit. The bike is finally on the ground, looking really badass, or kick-ass, or however we will call it. I have also organized some wires here on the handlebar. So this thing is also taking shape. I have no lever here because I use this lever for taking measurements for the test part. And if the test part fits, then obviously I'm gonna do correct levers from aluminium. But we will see if it fits or not in the next episode, where I will be also working on the green parts. But for that, stay tuned. Thank you all for watching. Click like and subscribe, comment underneath. Thank you all again. See you next time. Bye.
Well, hello and welcome back. It's me again. So today is finally the day that we all have been waiting for. The bike is finally ready. It's time to take the cover off. But before we do that, let's rewind to time a little bit and see how this all happened. So I've had some progress here behind the scenes, and I will talk you through them. So we ended the last episode with the question, is my newly printed lever going to work on this handlebar? And the answer is yes, it is working. So this means that on this side it clears the throttle body, and on this side it clears even better the buttons. So the design works. Actually, I already made the lever number 2. This is the first one, but in the computer I made some changes. So I made it smoother on some edges, and I double checked all the dimensions here on the assembly side, so it should work perfectly, as I didn't overthought it at first try, but now I made it so that everything should work perfect if the levers come from the aluminium guys. So currently I'm sending the files to aluminium guys so they can CNC machine the actual levers out from the aluminium. So the lever thing is okay now, so I can use these Brembo master cylinders on my handlebar. Another thing is the wiring. So I have the new indicators here now in the rear lights. So I just had these yellow wires for the indicator power, but the problem is that originally the indicator power goes through the wire here to the back end where the original indicators and number plate light is. But now we don't need indicator power anymore there, we need it here. So we have to get the power from this long wire there inside here. So as I use this Rizoma kit for repositioning the number plate, the kit comes with the wires already, but in my case I had the kit, I had the aluminium parts, but I didn't have the wires anymore because I have had this kit for many years. I used it some kind of development and I somewhere used the wire. I don't remember where, but anyway, I don't have the right wire anymore. But now, as I have some other XDiavels here for the clients, and I needed to buy the new Rizoma kits for them, so I got the new Rizoma wires, and I used this original Rizoma wire to replicate it, and I made my own wire. Well, I have to say I'm not an electrician, but I'm quite happy how it turned out. So I used like the Ducati original plugs. These are the ends for the indicators, and I used some plastic cover here to protect the wires and so on. I believe it looks quite okay here. So I just have to plug it in between the original wire now, and we have, hopefully, if everything is done correctly here, then I will have the indicator power, rear indicator power here. And also I have added the front indicators. They are positioned in original position, but I have used now the CNC Racing small indicators. I also had to solder the new plugs. So again, it's a plug and play with the original plugs that are on the bike side. So only thing that I'm a little bit worried is that this is quite old bike, and it didn't have the LED indicators, it had the old school indicators. So I don't know, maybe I have to add some electronical parts to make them blink in the right, sequence. So the original indicators are quite big compared to the new ones. What else I have done is the alternator cover. You probably saw before that on this left side of the engine the alternator cover was damaged. This means that it had scratches on it. So I took the alternator cover off. It's quite a big job, you need a special tool to take it off, and it has all this sealant on the edges, and it's oil there, so it's quite a big cleaning job. But once everything was clean, I could sand the cover. I repainted it to be satin black again, but now without scratches, and put it back on. And also, as the original clutch master cylinder was really damaged, I needed a new master cylinder. Then I bought the new aftermarket master cylinder from AEM, and now it's orange. I believe it matches our design quite nicely. I already had the clutch cover, so I only needed to change the oil filter, and then I could pour in the new oil. So as you can see, nice golden looking new oil is already inside the engine. I don't have the coolant at the moment because I don't have the right coolant. I have ordered it, but it takes a few days to arrive. Currently, let's continue with the wiring stuff. Let's get this handmade wire connected. Also, I will connect the front indicators, and I have a new battery. I will put the new battery on, and let's see if the bike comes alive or not. So the indicator wires are organized and the indicators are working, so we are one step closer to the finish. But now I'm going to talk about the main thing, which is the body. So as you know, the body panels were painted dark green like a long time ago already, and gloss clear coated. Now they have stayed like this for a long time. The green color itself is totally custom made color. I showed my initial design that is meant for this bike. I showed the design, and then I explained what I want to have to my good friend at PPG Estonia, who made me custom color by my design and my explanations. So it's like a dark green color with the orange metallic in it, and it's like an interesting color because it changes the shades of green. There are many shades of green in this color basically. So the panels were all painted green and gloss clear coated. I used this first gloss clear coat just to seal the green color. The green color was water paste color, so it's really hard, well, basically impossible to paint designs on the water paste color, like not having something between it. So I gloss clear coated them. Now before doing the design, I again sanded all the parts, fully sanded them, and then I was able to start the designing process. So I ordered like the custom made stickers, 2 mm wide and 2.5 mm wide stickers that I used for making these design lines on the fuel tank and, for example, the front mudguard. So I started with masking all these lines. Then if the lines were masked, then I masked all the green areas that have to stay green, so that I won't get any unnecessary color on the screen. So all the green was masked. Firstly, I started painting the orange. For that, as I explained before, under the orange has to be white undercoat if you want the orange to be really bright. On the orange lines, firstly a little bit white color, then the orange. Then if it dried, then I masked all these orange lines also, so the green and orange were masked at this point. Then I painted the black areas, and after the black was painted, then I could peel off all the maskings, and I had the initial design. For the side numbers that I have on the fuel tank, number 101, this time I used white sticker. Mostly in the clients, on the client bikes, I use like the negative sticker, the number on the black. So on the client bikes, normally I paint this white, for example, on the black. But in my case, I wanted to save time, and it felt like more reasonable at my case to just put the sticker there. Also for putting the number there, I used a laser to have it like fully level, and so that everything is
correct on the both sides of the bike. But if the sticker was on, then I fully clear coated all the panels again. Well, the initial aim, of course, was to have satin clear coat. It was like my initial idea when I had the design. If I wouldn't have put this gloss clear coat there, then you know, the satin clear coat would have been, you would feel the edges of different paints that I had on the design. So I used the gloss clear coat just to seal everything in, and the gloss clear coat is quite thick, so I sanded the surface really smooth, and after this sanding again, I finally went to paint booth and I satin clear coated all the panels. Long story short, that's it. Many hours again. Especially hard was getting all these stripes really straight everywhere, but turned out okay. As the parts are painted now, clear coated, they are fully ready, I can start throwing them on. Battery is on and something is blinking here, so I have to find the key. So check this out. It's working. Well, I put them somewhere nicely. Here I already organized the wires, so they are hidden. So I will start with the radiator covers. I already prepared it, so I put the green parts on top of the frame here. But with this part I have one more story to tell. At one point it popped up in my mind that I would like to write something on the bike. I had never done it. Well, I have like put some signatures on, but that's it. But I wanted to write something, and now I have this message on the side. Ooh, baby, baby, it's a wild world. I believe everybody knows the song. I can't explain exactly why I did it, but at this point of life, doing what I do and being where I am and having the plans that I have for the future, then I felt that this is the right message for the bike. Well, technically, when we are talking about, you know, doing the bikes, making the bikes, painting the bikes, technically it was done so that again, this gloss clear coat that I had on the green was sanded. Then I had tested different markers that will stay perfect under the clear coat. So I tested different markers. I found a good marker, and I just wrote it with my own hands on these panels and satin clear coated them. So I will start with installing the radiator covers. So now it's important not to mess up, because it's satin clear coat and you cannot polish the parts and so on, so I have to be super careful. So now it's time for the lower body panels. Now this thing underneath.
Now the rear end, you know, I paint the parts also from the inside, so they look like from factory, or maybe a little bit better than factory. So I have pre-installed the new cap already. Everything looks okay here. Now the stickers on the fuel tank. Well, this thing is going to look sick. So now it's time to take off the cover and let's see how this thing turned out. So the bike looks absolutely stunning in my opinion. I'm really satisfied with the end result. It actually looks exactly like I planned it to be. We have changed everything. We have new wheels, new exhaust, new brakes, new suspension, new paint, new everything basically. As I said, I'm super satisfied. Thank you all for watching. Click like and subscribe. There is more to come. Oh baby, baby, it's a wild world. Bye.